Welcome to Da Vinci's Discourse, where the minds of today's most innovative entrepreneurs are unveiled and explored. And my name is Kyle Campbell, your guide on this journey into the depths of the entrepreneurial psyche. So sit back, relax, and get ready to dive into the minds of the greats. This is Da Vinci's Discourse. Let's get into it then, brother. So Neil, dude, absolute pleasure to have you here, man. Why don't you tell me a little bit about yourself? What do you do?
So I am a digital marketer. I help companies grow their traffic, and I really have fun doing it, like just helping. It's for me, it's like a drug. I've never really done drugs, but um, it's like a drug of like, oh my God, I can get more traffic to this website, and you see the numbers in real time going up and the sales come in. It's exciting.
Hell yeah, man. I love that. What got you into it, dude? Because you're one of the most prolific marketers that I've ever studied. In fact, you're an unsung hero of mine. So I'm grateful for you, man. Hugely. So thank you for that. Seriously. What got you into this, dude? What was your first your entry play that made you passionate about it, that made you realize that this was something that you're going to spend the rest of your life doing?
Yeah, so there was a few things, okay? The first one was when I'm 38 now. When I started, I was around 15 and a half. All right, let's round up to 16. And I wanted a high paying job. Couldn't find one. Started an online business. No one came to the site. Paid some marketing firms with, money that I made working 9 to 5 at a theme park. Didn't get results. Had to learn it on my own and started getting good results. And I got into marketing not because I wanted to. I'm like, oh, I love marketing. It was more so I had to figure out a way to drive traffic to my site.
Yeah.
And I got really good at the traffic generation and I started falling in love with it. And it was just like a real high for me, like watching the numbers go up. So I continually just focused on it and honed my craft into marketing. And I wasn't thinking about, wow, this can turn into a career or what I can end up making or any of that. I was just honestly just having fun.
Hmm. Yeah, I love that, man. Hell, that's the thing that a lot of entrepreneurs struggle with, right? Is the traffic portion of it. They'll have the offer, they'll have something that they're passionate about, they're excited to be able to get to the marketplace. But when it comes to the actual implementation of getting people to see it, there's a major struggling point there, right? So let's say that I'm starting a business and I've got something, I've got a product. What would you say that I should start out with doing in terms of getting traffic to it? Where would you point me to start at the very beginning?
Sure. So depending on what you're selling, it would range. But the first thing I would do is we have a tool called Ubersuggest. People can use it for free. I would type in your competitors. It shows you where they're getting their traffic from, and it'll give you an idea of what you should do from SEO to paid to social shares and social media. And that'll give you an idea of where they're probably getting most of their traction from. And then I would start with those channels first. Um, and when you look at it in the long run, if you want to do well, you're going to end up doing SEO. You're going to end up doing paid ads. You're going to end up doing social media marketing. You're going to end up doing email. You're going to end up doing SMS. You're going to end up doing most forms of marketing. And the reason being is all these channels eventually get competitive, if not they already are competitive. And to do well, you have to be omni-channel and leverage them all for the most you can get out of them.
Hmm. Okay. So you say to start with what your competitors are doing, leverage their traffic sources in terms of what your product is similar towards, and then what's working for them is likely to work for you. What's like a tactical thing that you can do to, let's say you found the traffic sources that are working for your competitors. Where do you start? How do you think about that process of starting to emulate what's working for somebody else?
Sure. So let's take an example like Facebook ads.
Sure.
If you're finding that Facebook ads is working for your competitor and they're getting a lot of traffic, you can go to Facebook ad library. You can type in your competitor. You can see all their ads and look at the ones that have the most engagement.
Yeah.
Those are the ones that they're probably spending the most dollars on. Click on it. You'll get an idea of the ad, the copy, the image, or the video, and you'll get an idea of their landing page and what they're using to convert the person. This will help you understand what kind of visual you need to create, what kind of copy you need, where to send the traffic to, right? The landing page on your website, how to shoot your funnel look. That's how you get started. You literally just look at what your competition is doing, and then you go from there. Now, this doesn't mean that you should just continually copy your competition, but it's a starting point, right? It'll give you ideas. Eventually, you want to go get better than them, but you got to first start off by figuring out what's working for people and emulate it.
Okay, so let's say that I found the campaigns that are working for my competitors or my enemies, if you want to call them, or my strategic partners, if you want to pivot the way you look at the competition, which I love, by the way. Let's say that you're at that stage and you've analyzed the marketplace and what's working for others. What's the next step that we go on in terms of creating that successful marketing campaign?
Sure. So you emulated it, it's growing. Now expand it to other channels. What learnings can you take and leverage it with Google Ads? What learnings can you take and do it with SEO or organic social? Can you get influencers to leverage this kind of copy? Which influencers would
Mm,
have an audience that this product or service would appeal to? And can we use similar copy for them to talk about this product or service in an ad, right? Take
mm.
what's working and double down in other channels.
So how do you get in contact with the influencers and pivot or promote or position your offering as something that they would be enticed to promote themselves, to tap into their audience?
You start a conversation. So you would
Right.
message them from your
Mm,
social profiles to theirs, and you start a conversation. Just hitting them up saying, "Hey, I want to pay you for X, Y, and Z." It's tough, and most people just ignore.
yeah.
But on the flip side, if you actually hit them up and you say, "Hey, love this content, love what you did here," and you start communicating, leaving comments on their posts, and then you're like, "Hey, we should do a collab together. We pay influencers," and you've built up that relationship, you're much more likely to make a sale.
Right. Okay. So you're talking about building the relationship, not looking at it from a transactional point of view, but really start to have that friendship coming on. And then they'll be more enticed to not just do it for the monetary benefit, but because they feel connected to you. They want to jam with you. And if you can do something together, then there's more than the monetary benefit. There's the feeling, the emotional connection that you can forge with them, right? So we've started with because I want to go through your process, how you think about creating a marketing campaign from scratch. So we start with the competitors, analyzing what's working, modeling what's working in terms of their traffic and their funnel that they're running the traffic through. And then you're starting to think about driving traffic through these strategic partnerships by reaching out to influencers, building these connections, and having these relationships be built so you can grow in a strategic way. What's the next step that your mind goes to, and how do you know that that's the right thing to do?
Well, you just look at it from a profitability standpoint. If a channel's profitable, you do more and you double down on it. That's what you do next and you expand it. If it's not as profitable, you pull back and you try to make it profitable with less money and see if that could work out. Um, Marketing is like a big bag of experiments. You got to run a lot of them. Just because something worked for your competition doesn't guarantee that it's going to work for you. You got
Right.
to try out a lot of things and see what works and do more of what works and do less of what doesn't. But when things don't work, a lot of times people are like, oh, this channel doesn't work. Not necessarily. It could be your
Mm,
creative, could be your landing page. It could be that you're trying to scale too fast because if you scale too fast, a lot of times things break. Some channels are only meant where you can spend 10 grand a month and you can't scale them to 100, 200,000 or even a million. That's okay. Get whatever sales you can for that 10 grand, assuming it's profitable. And for the channels that let you spend more and you're getting profit from, great. Scale those up as well, right? But you got to look at each channel separately and you got to try to figure out why they're not working. And to really grow a business, you got to talk to your customers. What do they like? What do they don't like? What are they
right.
happy with? What are they upset about? What do you need to fix in your product or service? What's resonating with them from your marketing messaging? Like all these things impact, what you need to adjust and change over time.
Now, when it comes to the ad itself, right? Because we've modeled and we've adjusted based on what the marketplace is telling us with the ad, how do you know what to test first when it comes to modeling somebody else's campaign?
Just create like 20, 30, 50
Right.
different variations. You can
Yeah.
use AI to help you out and test all the elements and see what works. Because you can
Okay.
drive volume and traffic with most marketplaces like Facebook. Works for the competition, what they're doing is a good starting point, but you should just come with a ton of variations. You don't know if it's worth testing the headline first, or the image, or the video, or should be emotional, or using stats and data, or having trust seals. You just got to test it all, and then you can quickly see what's converting better because you can run 50, 100,000 different variations. No joke, right? You can run as many as you want.
No kidding,
And
especially
AI
with
can help
AI right
create
now,
them.
right? You can pump those babies out. No shit. When it comes to the target audience, because you can't, and correct me if I'm wrong, with the emulating the competition's Facebook ads, for example, are you able to get a grasp on who they're targeting with these ads? Are you able to see their criteria of demographics and psychographics?
Last time I checked, no, but
Right.
you should have idea of who your ideal customer is. If you're in business, you're
Right.
selling, you know, I don't know, computers, and crazy computers that are meant for gaming, you know who's going to buy them. It's going to be gamers, and you know what age range they typically are. And if it's really expensive, you better hope they have a job and they're not a 13-year-old kid if you're charging 5 grand for a computer.
Hey, I hope you're enjoying the podcast, and I want to let you know that I've got a free book that you can get if you want to tap into more of these resources. And you can get that for free at kylesbook.com. Back to the podcast.
Right. Fair enough. Okay. Okay. Now let's get into the offer a little bit because, like, let's say it's a computer that we're selling. How do we position the offer in a way that's going to be resonant with the marketplace, with to go into the testing phase, right? How do you think about positioning that offer, if you're selling, like, say, a computer or whatever it may be? How do you think about the offer positioning?
Yeah, so the way I look at the offer is what is everyone else in the market doing? How can I position it to be different?
Hmm.
So for example, if I'm selling teeth whitening and everyone's talking, I'm making this up, you would use what's true, not what's made up. But if everyone's selling
Hopefully.
teeth whitening and they're like, get results in 2 minutes and your teeth will be 3 times whiter. I would say, instead of saying get results in 2, 3 minutes, I'll talk about X, Y, and Z, Neil's teeth whitening, you know, may take a little longer to do,
Hmm.
but the results stay on average for 2 years, while the competition's results typically only stay for 30 days, right?
Hmm.
Do it once and have white teeth for 2 whole years, right? So a little bit of a different kind of pitch. Again, I'm not saying that's true. I made up the product. I don't know anything about teeth whitening, but you can see how the pitch would be different. Most people would pitch teeth whitening would probably say, hey, get it done quick. Most industries are like, hey, get results instantaneously.
So you actually what you leaned into is the negative of it. You said, yeah, it's going to take a little bit longer, but the result they're looking for, but the result is going to be exactly what you've been wanting that you can't get elsewhere. It reminds me of the old Volkswagen advertisements where it's like think small. They leaned into the negative side of things and were able to take their marketing campaigns to astronomical levels because they leaned into it. See, a lot of people they're afraid to lean into the negatives, right? How
Yeah.
did you know, like when it came to even the teeth whitening example, how did you know to lean, what negative to lean into when it came to well, what you just said to me? How do you know what negatives to lean into that are going to be positioned as a positive, the way you position it in the ad?
I don't. I made up the teeth whitening example, but
Right.
the reality would be is I would survey people and find out why they buy your product over the competition or why they buy the competition's product over yours or why they don't buy from you. And that'll give you ideas of what issues people have. And all you're trying to do is answer objections with your marketing. Oh,
Mm.
it takes too
Mm.
long to use your product. Well, if it takes too long, would you rather have results for 2 years, assuming that's true, versus 3 months? And then when you start leaning into some of those things, you're answering people's objections and it helps increase conversions.
Right. So you get the objections through a survey that would you run ads to the survey before you started testing the actual ad itself? How do you get traffic to
You
the
could
survey?
typically just pick up the phone and talk to ideal customers, or you can use usertesting.com, um, or you can just run a survey on your website, like through SurveyMonkey or Hotjar and one of those tools.
Right. Or just use answerthepublic.com or askthepublic.com, your tool that you gave me, baby. And I use that thing all the time when it comes to creating quiz funnels because
Yeah.
it allows me to enter the conversation that's going on in their minds and be able to position my marketing as though it's aligned perfectly with what they're already thinking about. I love that tool, by the way. You have all the coolest tools, man. So, all right, we've gone through exactly where you start with modeling the competition. You go into getting those tests out there, starting to have some strategic partnerships built up with list owners that could eventually promote your product after you've built that relationship with them. What else do you think about when it comes to creating a successful marketing campaign? Where's your mind go next?
Yeah. So when it comes to creating a successful marketing campaign, the big thing that you got to do is not just focus on getting customers, but increasing repeat customers.
Yes,
So
yes.
what education do you need to do? What kind of follow-ups? What kind of
Mm.
upsells, downsells? How can you get people to buy more from you over time, refer more? the money's not made on the sale. The money's made on continually getting the same buyer to buy from you over and over again.
Yeah.
If you look at Amazon as a B2C example, people buy from Amazon all the time. You use Amazon, I'm guessing?
Oh, hell yeah, man. We can't live without it now. Come on.
How often do you go to Amazon and buy something?
Oh man, multiple times a week at least. I live in the country, so it's convenient as hell because it's like 20 minutes away for the local store for me. So I love that. I mean, 3 times a week, let's say, for sure.
Okay, so that's great. And then if you look at B2B examples like Microsoft, how many of us use Microsoft Word or PowerPoint? We keep paying for it on a regular basis. In both B2B and B2C, people who build great products keep getting others to come back and keep buying from. You make the money from repeat purchases, not from someone buying from you one time.
And that goes back to the strategic partnerships because if you don't have a product that lends itself to a continuity basis, you can find strategic partners to plug their products into your back end. So you would ask, I got this from Jay Abraham. He would ask, what are they buying after buying my product? And then they go into doing affiliate deals or joint ventures after that solution's completed. When it comes to finding these joint venture partners, where did your mind go? Like, let's say you don't have the connections that you've got. You're a relatively newer entrepreneur in the space. How do you think about finding these joint venture partners, and how do you know who to connect with?
The way I find these joint venture partners is I end up just like you said, once you know who's the right fit, where they're buying products from or services from after they buy yours, I literally just either A, reach out to people, which gets me some traction, and you can find like the right person within that organization to reach out to on LinkedIn. But B, I also go to events like conferences where some of these companies will be, and I network with them, try to meet them in
Hmm.
person,
Hmm.
and I try to do deals with them.
Hmm. So when it comes to these deals, what are some things that you do that, or you see people do maybe that are just major red flags that would be something that we would want to prevent doing when it comes to forging these relationships?
I don't have too much experience on what would be red flags. And the reason being is I don't do these deals all day long. You may just only do a few a year. But the
Hmm.
way I look at them is I go into them with the open mind. So instead of saying like, this is how I want to structure or whatnot, the goal is to create a win-win situation. And the goal is to create a lifelong partnership where you're promoting them
Right.
and they're promoting you. And you got to get to know each other and figure out how to really integrate to make things happen. You can't just be like, cool, you got a great product, I got a great product. I'll just send one email blast. Well, that's not going to really drive consistent results over time. You got to integrate. And to integrate, you got to work with the person, understand them, understand their audience, and figure out some sort of integration that works for both parties.
Okay, I love it, man. So we've gone through mostly what we can do to create a successful marketing campaign, from the target audience to the offers to the ads that you would run, to the joint ventures that you could formulate on the back end of that. And you're saying to focus on continuity rather than new customers. New customers is like the crack cocaine of getting entrepreneurial business. It's like new customers is what everybody's talking about. But you're saying to focus on the other two ways to grow a business, which is the long term, more spend per customer and more ongoing purchases from them. What's a question that I'm not asking that if I were to ask would give the most helpful answer to a marketer that's looking to grow their business?
You've asked most questions. I would say one thing that most people don't realize is it takes time for it to work.
Yeah.
Nothing is built overnight. You're not going to get the results you want in the first year, second year, or third year. Most companies that do well typically have a brand and that takes many years to build. And entrepreneurs and marketers shouldn't look at things as a 1 year outlook. They should look at things as a
Mm.
10 plus year outlook.
Mm.
Sorry, my kids kept me up late. But if my son woke up at 2 a.m.
Oh, it
But
happens, man.
if yeah, if you're not willing to do something for 10 years, you shouldn't probably even do it in the first place. And if you
Right.
can't have a 10-year outlook, that means you're not in it for the right reasons or the long haul, then you should do something else. But you got to start looking at things as 10 plus years instead of just a few years at a time.
Well, that reminds me, looking at things how they will be done in 10 years from now, as opposed to how they're being done now. And I see AI is, yeah, we don't know what's going to happen with AI, man. Where do you see the AI taking us in terms of marketing and how that's going to change in the future?
Yeah, I think we're overestimating AI in the short run,
Really?
underestimating in the long
Oh,
run.
in the
Yeah.
long run. Okay, right. Yeah.
In the short run, everyone thinks it's a magic wand and you can wave it and it solves all your problems. That's not the case. In the long run, I do think it'll solve way more problems than people even think, and
Yeah.
it'll impact more industries than people think, but it just takes time. Look at the
Yeah. Well,
IRS. IRS today on TV said, "Oh yeah, AI is going to be like our night vision goggles. We can use AI to catch people who are skimming on taxes. They lose 100+ billion a year in tax revenue from people frauding the IRS. That's great. The country will collect more money."
as will we, hopefully, man. How are you using AI in your companies right now? What are some of the ways that you're utilizing it in the overestimated growth or capability of it as it is right now? How are you using it right now?
We're using it for ideation, help with the workflows, help with repetitive tasks like spreadsheet analysis. We're using it to let us know, like, hey, here are the things that are working out and aren't working out, just keeping track of the data and alerting us on a daily basis. So it just gives us
Mm,
reminders to just double check on what's not working and reallocate money to areas that are working. But and we're doing a lot of tests like taking our content and dubbing it, the videos in a lot of different languages through tools
yeah,
like MyGen.
amazing.
And so we're doing a lot of tests, but we haven't found any AI solution. But like if you plug this in, you just automatically get more traffic and sales. We haven't found anything like that.
One of the ways we're using it is through LinkedIn direct outreach. We're using it to automate the outreach and have conversations take place as though it's a human, not at an advanced level, and maybe we're overestimating the capability of it right now, but at the very beginning of it, it's only going to get better, man. It's exciting as all hell to see what's going to happen with it.
How's it
Brother,
working out for you?
it's working out like crazy. We've got an agency running with the AI. It's AI agents that are going out, reaching out, and having conversations with prospects and booking them on the phone with our clients. And it's working out amazing. We had a client last week who was able to get 130 calls booked in 1 week with her LinkedIn connections, with 6,000 LinkedIn connections. That's it. And the AI had conversations with them all and brought them onto the phone where she was able to make a whole shit ton of money. And we got a commission on that, baby. So it's good for everybody involved. Yeah, it makes me happy, man. I love what AI is doing. It's incredible. But like you said, it's only gonna get better, dude. Yeah, man, I appreciate your time, man. We went through an entire marketing campaign here, in terms of what you can do to start and scale and where your mind went when it came to that. Amazing, man. Thank you. And is there anything else that you'd want to add?
No, thanks for having me.
My pleasure, man. Absolutely my pleasure. So yeah, Neil, dude, thanks a lot for coming on, and we'll keep in touch, my friend. Thank you.
Take care.
All right. I hope you enjoyed that podcast episode. And if you want to get a free copy of my book, go to kylesbook.com and you can get a copy there. I'll talk with you soon.